here at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and I'm here with Dave from Parlor Mob. I'm just going to answer some of your questions. What was the scene like in New Jersey as you guys were coming up as a band?
It was, I don't know, we were sort of sore thumbs at that point in time. There was a lot of like emo bands, a lot of screamo bands, all sorts of
No, let's not.
emo bands and stuff like that. I don't know, there's a lot of different stuff. We just sort of, we did things a lot differently back then. We kind of stuck to ourselves. We were kind of,
I've been here.
I don't know, not exactly like accepted into our city. So we had our own friends and musicians, and people like Scott Liss, and a band called Bow Flying Jets. We were real tight with, and so we sort of had our own little group of friends. But it was strange, you know. We were really young. We were all coming out of high school. It was different. It was a lot different, you know. So I don't know. There was good bands, and you know, a lot of those people are still playing today. Brad York is playing Sycamore Moon, Atlantic, and our friend Scott Liss is still killing it. He's recording new songs with Paul right now. He just put out a record not too long ago. So you know, there was a bit of a scene, but it wasn't. It wasn't quite catered to us so much, you know. But it was cool. We liked it. You know, we played in all the venues. We made friends. We did all that.
Okay. Kind of dug out your own
sort
of speak.
of, yeah.
Okay. What were some of the bigger bands that you played with while you were still playing locally?
Wow, back in the day, you make me remember things. Not the greatest memory in the world. Back in the day, I don't know, we did a lot of strange things. We went out to LA and played some shows with like older bands, like we did a show with like Cheap Trick, and we did all this weird stuff back in the day. And, I don't know, we've never really opened for many like huge bands or anything like that. We kind of always just did smaller things by ourselves. And even when we were touring most of the time for the first record, we were just doing small clubs by ourselves, you know, with our friends and bands that we liked and stuff like that. So I don't know, we never really have done much in the way of like big opening slot things. You know?
Okay. What was the journey like from local to signed?
It was tumultuous. It was like I was telling you before. We signed to Capitol when we were young. It was like 2005, and we went out to LA. We recorded 4 songs, and then we came home. We sat around for a few months, and then we got dropped. You know, so it was kind of like we got our foot in the door, and then we got kicked out, and then we started playing around New York and New Jersey locally, and getting our name out there and sort of developing ourselves more and more, and eventually Roadrunner signed us, and that was, I don't know, the whole major label experience is kind of like everything that, you know, people may say about the music industry is kind of, you know, we've been through it all at this point and continue to go through it, so it's, I don't know, sometimes I guess you miss the days of just kind of doing things, you know, whatever you want, and giving things out and being able to just, you know, sort of not care as much, you know, less pressure, that sort of thing. But I mean, for us, it's what we want to do for a career. It's what we want to do for the rest of our lives. So, you know, we sort of just roll with the punches and kind of punch back as much as we can, and try and make it our own way, on our own terms. It's a horrible industry. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone.
But at the same time, how does it feel to be doing something that you know you want to do for the rest of your life?
It's good, you know. It's good. Like, it's cool. It's cool to know that, you know. Obviously, we recognize the fact that not everyone gets to have a passion and be able to pursue it professionally, you know. So we're always super humble. You know, it's like it's the kind of thing that, you know, a lot of our friends don't get to do the things that they love to do, you know. So there's obviously a lot of joy and a lot of good times that are had with your friends playing music, going around touring, doing the whole thing. But it's also, you know, it's the kind of thing where there's just more stress than it's really possible to convey when you kind of have all your eggs in this one basket, you know. And it's not just like a matter of like, is the band going to be able to sustain itself? but are we individually going to be able to have lives, you know, and like really carve something out for ourselves? So I mean, it's difficult, but it's cool, you know. We love it. We love doing it. We stay together. We play as much as we can. We write as much as we can.
Okay. What was the weirdest thing you've ever seen on tour?
The weirdest thing I've ever seen on tour, I guess. I really don't know. We see some weird stuff. There's kind of anyone who's been on a road trip can testify to the sort of weird things that you see when you just sort of, you know, spend 12 hours a day driving on the roads and meeting people in different cities all over the place, and kind of I don't know. I mean, there's no real one thing I can mention off the bat, but I guess God, it's all blur at this point. All the traveling. I don't know. I don't really have a good answer.
Okay. Just a lot of weird things then.
Yeah.
Okay. Your new album, Dogs?
Yeah.
Okay. How does it differ from past albums?
Well, you know, we're different people at this point in time. When we wrote and recorded the first album, it was sort of songs that we had amassed from, you know, all the years growing up together and playing together from the time we were young and stuff like that. So it was sort of the album was written over several years, you know. And this album was written in a very concise period of time where we had been through a lot as far as being musicians and being a band at that point. So, you know, it's sort of the difference between like a bunch of kids that like to play music and kind of like a band, what we feel like now, sort of fully formed, confident, that whole thing. So it's a lot more focused, you know, there's a much clearer message to what it is, you know. And there's like sonic differences, you know. I think we probably are better musicians than we were 5 years ago. We know what we want when it comes to recording, how to get the sounds that we want, how we like to record, and that sort of thing. So it sounds a lot more the way we want it to sound, as opposed to just sort of taking too many suggestions, maybe, you know. But I mean, the songs are completely different. I don't know. It's basically about struggle, you know, in general, and however really you want to apply it to your particular situation. You know, for us, it's a struggle within the music industry. It's sort of this kind of hierarchy of corporate machines, you know, that's sort of, it feels like try to pull you down at all times, you know. And I mean, that's like us as a band expressing this 5 people on this album, and I feel like it's probably relatable to any number of people who are kind of unhappy in the situation, feeling manipulated or deceived or whatever. So I mean, there's a much more clear message on the record, I think, and that's probably the biggest difference to me. You know, we write music that we like and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot more emotional content to it because we've been through a lot more than we had when we were 18, you know, when we were 27 now. I mean, it's just different.
Okay. Do you think it'll attract a new audience at all for the band?
I would hope so. I mean, you see everything that's going on with Wall Street and all this stuff, and that there's just a lot of people who are disenfranchised with kind of the whole.
You make them honest, not to mark it all up.
The way that you just, the comedy band just feels kind of crushed by the world at this point in time, you know. And I mean, that's sort of a universal thing all throughout time. Of course, you have people who don't want to be controlled and who want to kind of rebel against whatever it is, whatever it may be. But I mean, it's for us now, like, we've been through it and we're going through it, and it's just, I mean, whether it's sort of on the business end of things, like from the band, or us individually, you know, in our personal lives or whatever it may be, it's sort of, you can't really talk about something without knowing what it is you're talking about, you know, without having been through it yourself, I guess. So,
Absolutely.
you know, I think there's a lot of that going on at this point in time, and I mean, I hope it resonates. You know, we want to get involved with that whole movement on Wall Street, that whole thing. I mean, there's there's nothing that can kind of make people sort of feel better about themselves than music, I guess, you know, and if we feel definitely a connection to that attitude and that mind frame that it seems like the whole country is expressing in different ways. So, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, there's an audience for it, you know. It seems that way to me. When you look on the news, it seems like there's an audience for pissed off people, you know.
Like it's not like there's one micron.
Okay.
That's
That's all the questions that I have for you.
Alright.
Candace from Public Question 1, Dave from Parlor Mob, and you asked.